Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ismail Chartier. I was raised Irish Catholic in a neighborhood called Hell's Kitchen, Manhattan, which when I was a kid was a very bad neighborhood. It was full of drug use. The Irish mafia ran it with an iron fist, and if anyone got in their way, people were dealt with. My mom and dad are both first-generation Irish American, and me and my brothers are second-generation Irish American, which comes with a lot of culture and heritage that you have to learn. It's wajib, huh? It's mandatory, obligatory that you learn what it means to be Irish. The culture, the dancing, the music, the hatred of the English occupation of Northern Ireland, especially when your family's from Belfast. I wrestled from the time I was 5 years old to the time I was 20 years old. That's who I was. It was my identity. It was everything I was this. I was known as Brandon the Wrestler. That's who I was. I was a 4-time state wrestling champion. I was in university, at the University of Arizona, and I was on the wrestling team. And I got hurt really, really bad. I hurt my back, and I couldn't wrestle anymore. And I remember the day that the trainer and the coach brought me in to their office, and they said, you're finished, you can't do this anymore. And when I couldn't do that anymore, I didn't know who I was. And all I felt was pain and anger. And I wanted the world, not just a certain individual, but the world, to feel as much pain that I felt. I was raised Irish Catholic, but I could never get one God out of 3. It was always 3. I started a journey where I went through every religion that I could think of and find. So I went to get the Orthodox view of Christianity. I was raised with the Irish Catholic and then with the Protestant view, so I wanted to see the other view of Orthodox. So I went to Greece, studied there for a year, and I said, I just can't believe this. So I said, I'll look at the Torah. I'll look at the first 5 books of the Bible. So I said, okay, this makes sense. They say worship only one God. So I went to a local temple, and I said, I want to be a Jew. And the rabbi, he said, is your mother Jewish? I said, no, my mom is not Jewish. And he said, are you going to marry a Jewish girl? And I said, well, if you have one, bring her out. We'll see what happens. You know, if we like each other, we'll see how it goes. He didn't like that. He asked me to leave. So I said, I don't believe God would limit his religion to one nation. I think God would want all of the creation, all of mankind, to experience salvation, to experience liberation in worshiping him. So then I went through all the religions. I spent a year in Nepal studying Buddhism and Hinduism. So as I walked by this little section in the university library called Islam, it was really this big. It consisted of like 8 books, you know. So I said, well, this is something I don't know anything about. So they had books by Elijah Muhammad, they had books by Rumi, they had books by Ghazali, and then they had the Quran. They had the Musaf in English. So I said, this is the book that Muslims follow. This is the book that they claim to follow. So I'm going to read this book. And I've based my decision about Islam on this book. I studied the Arabic language. I read the Quran. I came back to my wife, and I looked at my wife and I said, I couldn't be a Christian anymore. I want to be a Muslim. I'm going to be a Muslim. I'm going to change my religion, and I'm going to start now. And she said, okay, whatever. She didn't believe that it would be a life-changing experience for me or for her. I think the #1 change she noticed right away was I had peace and tranquility within myself that I didn't have before. I love my wife. I still do love her. But I was still angry at everybody, so my temper was quick. You know, Irish people have a naturally quick temper. We're known for this internationally. And when I accepted Islam, that all went away. It was like all the weight of the world had been lifted off of me. And my wife saw this. She saw this tranquility and this peace had overtaken me. After a week